How often have you given up on an activity or given up on taking a class or doing something because it didn't feel like it fit into your day? It didn't feel like it fit into your month. It doesn't fit with who you think you are, and maybe you didn't strike up a conversation because you were worried about how they would feel. So this week, I want to talk about the importance of inconvenience and how it's almost a currency for not only our discipline and our exposure to novelty, but also it's a currency for community and for our own personal confidence. Hello and welcome back to the Kalopsia podcast. I'm your host, Sydney. Thank you so much for clicking on this week's episode, and I'm thrilled to have you here. So as you could have guessed by the little intro, this week I want to talk about inconvenience because I feel like it's something that we have strayed from as a society so deeply. And, most evidently, one of the biggest reasons for this is most likely our phones. Our phones make it convenient for us to order food. It makes it convenient for us to talk to people. It makes it more convenient for us to get from place to place. It makes it more convenient for us to purchase things. It makes everything more convenient. It is basically a convenience hub. And what it's done is that it kind of lessened our threshold for inconvenience in outside of our life. And so what I have observed, right, is that number one, we have shorter fuses. If somebody rubs us the wrong way or says something we didn't like, or maybe one bad thing happens, you miss your train that you were supposed to get on to get to from A to B. And it's like, oh my gosh, now it's the end of the world. And it's actually the worst day ever. When really that's not the case. Really the case is that you have been inconvenienced, which isn't inherently a bad thing. So you guys might have also seen, while I was kind of compiling my resources for this episode, I realized that there was a big conversation happening around the kind of phrase, in order to be a part of a village, I must become a villager. And a lot of people have gone online to speak about how important it is for us to inconvenience ourselves for others. And from the beginning, it kind of looked like it was almost like an attack upon some people. Why can't people be more selfless? Why can't people do this? Why can't people do that? But I think that the message behind it is actually super, super insightful because of how inconvenience really lays the groundwork for us to show up for one another. So when we're thinking about inconvenience in the side of community, we're thinking of going somewhere that you might not really have wanted to go. We're thinking of doing something that you might not have really wanted to do. I'm thinking of watching something that you may not have wanted to watch. This is the cost of community. And I think that it's almost a given. We know this, we understand this on a base level, but having that reminder of, okay, it's not nice that I have to do this right now. It's not something that I really want to be spending my time with. I could spend it elsewhere, but it is the cost of having that interpersonal exchange, having that kind of reliability and understanding that, okay, this person might show up for me even if they don't really want to be there, even if they don't really want to be spending their time in this way. And it just shows how dedicated you are to that person. It shows how much you value that relationship. Now, how else can we think of inconvenience on the broader scale? So an example of this even was that today I went to the park next to my house. I went to a park and I sat down and read. And I read for about an hour, just sitting, just relaxing. And then at some point, these two girls walk up to me and they start asking me questions. And at first I'm like, oh gosh, now I'm stuck in a conversation with some strangers. It's going to be really awkward for me to get myself out of this. It's not really nice. I was planning to leave soon. I could just lie, but then that's a little bit weird and a little bit rude. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to choose to engage in this conversation that isn't the most convenient of times for me, nor is it really convenient for me because I didn't plan to have it. It's been sprung on me. But, we got to talking and we found tons of things in common. One of them was working in a field that's kind of parallel to mine. And this one girl was talking about how she was thinking of moving here. And as we were having this conversation, I was thinking, why is it so hard to have these kinds of new conversations with people? Why is it so hard to become friends with a stranger, have a meet cute, if you will, as well? Or even, I went to Paris for 3 weeks by myself a few months, a couple years ago now, and I didn't meet that many new people. And I was like, okay, I feel like part of me was very antisocial. It was almost like my year of rest and relaxation type of vacation, but I don't mean that in the drug way. I'm sorry. I heard it as I said it. I really just slept and read the entire time. I slept, read, and walked around 10,000 steps, but I digress. During that trip, I went out of my way a couple of times, but not so, diligently, to strike up conversations with strangers. And the baseline of this kind of sentiment is that we find it inconvenient to engage others in conversations without their pre-approval. It is not something that comes naturally to us, but it's crucial and it's important. And now, I've just created a possible friend that might move into the town. And then I also have the gain conversation. I don't know. We started talking about African flags and how, shockingly just discovered that a lot of African flags that have the colors red, yellow, and green are actually tied back to the Ethiopian flag because they escaped colonialism. And so that the representation of the colors and such. And then I also learned about how so many, black freed slaves were sent back to Africa, just sent back to Liberia, regardless of where they were from, generations later as well, and how that has impacted the country of Liberia. So, we learn, we grow, we expand each other's knowledge, we lean on one another, and that is the gift, the prize of inconvenience. The other prize, if you will, to inconvenience is novelty. A lot of the time when it comes to creativity, what I've seen particularly, is how we are regurgitating the same topics. We're regurgitating the same topics, we're regurgitating the same ideas, the same editing style, the same career paths even, the same outfits, the same. We recreate because there is so much content. There's so much convenience to seeing what other people are doing. And so it becomes hard when you think about the artist's journey to find an opinion of your own. And I really want to emphasize the fact that it doesn't mean that people are willingly copying. It could even be that you see something, 101 of marketing. If you hear or see something enough times, you might think that you've come up with it. It will sneak up on you. And it's like, oh, where did I hear that again? I don't know when I formed that opinion. I might have just heard it enough times and now I believe it. And so now we need to think about the fact of how dangerous it is for creativity to not experience enough inconvenience in our day-to-day lives. If you go from point A to point B super quickly, you never stray. If you are reading the same book as 15 other creators within your field, you're going to have the same opinion. And I think that I'm guilty of this. I think that it's nearly impossible for us to not be guilty of this. We all have phones, right? You're probably watching this on one or listening to it on one. But when I think about experiencing novelty, I even think about this room. It can be fun to decorate your home and, get a bunch of pieces from one place. You can go on IKEA's website, just order bing, bang, boom, a table, a chair, a desk, a rug, a pillow. You can buy it all on the same website, have it all come in one day. I actually did see a commercial about that. I think it was a Target commercial actually. And this girl, she ordered, in the ad, of course, she ordered all of her decor from Target and it all got shipped in one day. And I was like, wow, the death of home decor. Never would you willingly choose, in my opinion, I would personally never choose to buy every single decorative piece for my apartment, for my room, from one website. And so that kind of gives you the idea of okay, how can I trade in my convenience for, a possibility of creativity? So when it comes to home decor, if we're sticking to that example, how can I avoid making this a hyper convenient arrangement for myself? Okay, maybe I will buy one rug from this place that I found that was pretty cute. Sure, I don't have a table, but I will sit here without a table for enough time until I find the table that I think really works for me. And so for a while, I was also thinking, I have this room that I'm in, half of it is actually storage. And so I was thinking, okay, I really want to put a curtain for it, but I don't know what kind of curtain. Should I have it be a sheer curtain? Should I have it be a white curtain? Should I have it be a beige curtain? I'm not sure. Let me sit on that. Sure, it's not convenient for me to sit here and look at all of the storage in the room, but I'm allowing that time. I'm allowing myself to sit with that inconvenience for myself to find or figure out or discover a new solution that I might not have before. Now, the third prize in my eyes of inconvenience is actually going to lie in discipline. So discipline is one of the hardest things to do, especially if it's something that you are not immediately passionate about. For example, let's say working out. When a lot of us say, November 1st, am I all right? January 1st, I'm going to be in the gym. I'm going to be working out at least, 5 days a week. I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to be in there. And it's like, okay, yeah, like week 1 goes by. Oh, yeah, I did that. Week 2 goes by. Okay, yeah, I'm doing it. Week 3 goes by, I'm dropping it to 3. 6 weeks go by, I'm dropping it to 2. It's like, okay. Discipline is inherently going to require you to be able to sit with inconvenience. It's not always going to be easy for you to incorporate this habit into your routine. Another example of this could be, maybe you have an art practice that you really, really want to put time towards, but maybe that means that you have to sacrifice socializing, you have to sacrifice, maybe cooking. Maybe that's not a good example. Maybe you have to sacrifice, reading for this art practice, right? Whatever that thing is for you. In the same sense that it's important for us to be villagers for our community, give so that we know that we can depend on this entity together and lean away from hyper individualism. Now we're also seeing how important it is to have that within, because if you are unable to inconvenience yourself for your greater good, your self-development is cut short. Your self-development is impossible. So it's so important to inconvenience even yourself so that you can thrive, just like we would inconvenience ourselves for our community. Think of yourself as a village. How can I pour into this village as well? And really, when you think about it, villages need resources to survive. You need your health. You need your social life. You need education. You need all of these different aspects of yourself, your entity, your world. So pour into that as well. And inconvenience is the way to get there. It will not always be convenient to stay on top of your health. It will not always be convenient to prioritize your growth and your knowledge. It's not always going to be convenient for you to lean into your art practices, but you need to do it if you want yourself to thrive. Now, finally, the biggest one for me is how inconvenience really leans into our self-confidence. Now, we've spoken a little bit about emotional resilience on the podcast before, but I really, really want to bring it back here because what emotional resilience really is a higher tolerance for inconvenience. So when you think about maybe a friend that lets you down, maybe you think about an opportunity that fell through, maybe you think about a drama occurring, maybe at work or with your friends, it's very easy for that to really weigh on your ego, honestly. It's very easy for that to make you feel some type of way and make you think, okay, like either I'm not worth investing in if it's like a job thing. Maybe it's easy to think the universe hates me. It's easy to think I just have bad luck, and it can really turn into a very self-sabotaging train of thought. But the bottom line here is that once you understand that things go wrong and that's the only thing that you can count on, you're gonna lose friendships, you're gonna lose opportunities, and all of that is for the greater good. I personally do believe in that everything happens for a reason. Having that be your kind of center, right? Understanding that, okay, everything happens for a reason. If it misses me, it's not meant for me. That will help you really lean into that emotional resilience, and any inconvenience that is thrown your way, you're just like, okay, maybe I just need to slow down. So an example from my life actually could be, so I work in ABA, and normally when I am working with a client, I'm working with a client and it's great, it's whatever. But if that client cancels on me, or if that family cancels on me, or if I have to end session early or anything like that, then that means I just don't get paid. And it's happened a couple of times just in the last week, which means that I've lost money. And typically, this would have significantly impacted my stress. I'd be like, oh my goodness, like this is like so stressful. I'm not going to make enough next week. I'm not going to be able to make enough, whatever. But in that moment, instead, I thought, you know what? This is not the greatest thing, but maybe I'll just head home. Maybe I'll use this time in a different way. I'll use this time to maybe get ahead on my schoolwork. I'll use this time to maybe read a little bit. I haven't had the time to read. The other benefit to inconvenience is how it actually fuels our brains. When maybe you missed the train to get home, and it's like, okay, maybe I should like find another solution. Like how else can I get home? And it's going to invite you to find that alternative solution. The same thing applies for when I miss my shift at work. Okay, I missed my shift at work. What can I do? How can I pivot? How can I use this time elsewhere? And so what this is doing is training our problem solving skills. We're going to be more emotionally resilient when we are encountered with a conflict, or when we are encountered with a problem. We're going to be able to flow through that kind of state of panic more freely. And so that is what I really, really love about leaning into inconvenience. And also I think the mindset shift of seeing it not as a negative word, but almost as a positive. It's inconvenient, but that doesn't mean it is negative. It doesn't mean it's bad. And it's really important to kind of hold these almost definitions in your mind, because I think that's a big part of shifting a mindset, right? Redefine how you label a certain event or behavior. Like think about how comorbid, ominously, excitement and anxiety are. Is it excitement or is it anxiety? And having that change of label is going to help you a lot work through that emotion, and also think, okay, am I in a bad mood or am I in a good mood? How can I figure this out? And so when it comes to inconvenience, thinking about it as a negative, you're getting angrier and angrier. You're just spiraling yourself into a more negative frame of mind and almost cursing the world for making you have to go through this in a different way or whatever. But if you think about it in a positive way, it's like, okay, I've been inconvenienced in this way. How can I flip this? How can I go through this? How can I use this to either fuel my community, fuel myself, fuel my discipline, fuel my access to creativity and to novelty and to inspiration? How can we flip it? But that's all I have for you guys today. I am so thankful that you guys clicked on this week's episode. It is a little bit shorter than the usual. I hope you guys don't mind. Don't forget to send in some pictures of your daily kalopsia that you run into, whether it's just a picture of the sky that you really liked, or maybe your breakfast came out looking really good, or maybe you see a flower, whispering in the wind, whispering through the wind, wisping. I don't know, whatever the word is. Find your daily kalopsia, find your little slice of beauty, and send it in to @kalopsiapod, KALOPSIAPOD on Instagram and TikTok. And then I'll add it to the page. Like I said in last week's episode, I want to create like a whole page where we just all add our pictures. And then if you guys don't mind, I can tag you so that we can build our little community on there. And you just scroll and you just see slices of beauty. And then don't forget to also reach out if you'd like at Sydney Jotita, SYDNEYDJOTITA on Instagram and TikTok. And I'm so thankful that you guys clicked on this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next Sunday. I almost said Friday. We're getting used to the new schedule.